I'm not gonna lie, y'all, I'm nervous. Y'all know K-pop fans can't keep it cutesy, can't keep it mindful, and can't keep it very demure. But wish me luck, we'll see how this goes. Don't shoot me, I'm just the messenger and this needs to be said. I don't feel bad for NCT, I do not feel bad for NCTzens, and I don't feel bad for people who were TAEIL biased. I know that sounds harsh, but in situations where there is an actual victim who was directly harmed by an idol or by anyone who's famous, rich, the victims are the ones who are directly affected and will have to deal with the consequences and the ramifications of what their abuser have done to them for the rest of their life. They are who matters, not ourselves as fans of someone we don't know. So no, again, I do not feel bad for NCT, I do not feel bad for NCTzens, and I don't feel bad for people who were TAEIL biased and have to take their posters and photo cards off their wall. That's the bare minimum. Hello, my name is Kaylani. Welcome to Lonnie's Lens, where I dive into everything pop culture from film, TV, to music, and literally whatever else is on my mind. Today's topic is a very serious one. We will be discussing the recent allegations against former NCT member Moon TAEIL. Since these allegations are still very recent and the specifics haven't been confirmed by a reliable source, but more importantly, out of respect for the victim and those who are directly affected, I will not be going into any detail about these allegations. Instead, I want to focus on the reaction from K-pop fans and how parasocial relationships and infantilization have ruined and continue to ruin any chance of accountability, not just for the idols, but for ourselves as K-pop fans. So let's get right into it. I'm not gonna lie, y'all, I'm nervous. Y'all know K-pop fans can't keep it cutesy, can't keep it mindful, and can't keep it very demure. But wish me luck, we'll see how this goes. For those of you who aren't K-pop fans, locals, you could say, and don't know anything about this situation, let me give you some background. So Moon TAEIL is a 30-year-old South Korean singer who, as of yesterday, is a former member of the K-pop boy band NCT. He debuted in 2016 under SM Entertainment, one of the biggest entertainment companies in South Korea. TAEIL was known as the main vocalist and the oldest member in NCT. His quiet and reserved nature combined with his powerhouse vocals made him a favorite amongst fans. However, everything changed on August 28th when SM Entertainment released this statement. This is SM Entertainment. We have recently confirmed that TAEIL has been accused in a criminal case related to a sex crime. While investigating the facts related to this matter, we recognized the severity of the incident and therefore determined that he could no longer continue his group activities. As a result, we decided in discussion with TAEIL that he would leave the group. Currently, TAEIL is cooperating earnestly with the police investigation and we will provide additional statements according to the progress of the investigation. We deeply apologize for the trouble caused by our artist. As I mentioned earlier, the specifics of this case have not been confirmed by a reliable source, but considering how fast SM took action to kick him out of the group, it's alarming. And considering that K-netizens, who are notorious for their ability to dig up this information as fast as possible, didn't know until the company made this statement is interesting. And then when we look at SM's track record when it comes to how they deal with these scandals and these allegations for artists in the past, so the fact that SM is taking this so seriously and acting so quickly is telling, to say the least. So before we dive any deeper, I want to briefly talk about my background as a K-pop fan. I have been a K-pop fan since about 2015, so it's almost been a decade, and NCT was my ultimate bias group, and to this day NCT Dream is still my favorite K-pop group. I've seen NCT 127 in concert and I've seen Dream in concert, so I'm very familiar with TAEIL and his presence and his persona in this group. And although he was never one of my favorite members, I could appreciate his talent and what he brought to the group. He was undeniably a very talented vocalist, and from what I could see from the very limited and curated media that I saw with him, he seemed perfectly normal. But that's the problem. I just want to make it very clear that the reason that I brought up my experience as a K-pop fan is to just shed light on how allegations and scandals have been handled in the past and the shift to how they're being handled now when it comes to the K-pop fandom. But I also want to highlight that it doesn't matter, and I think that we as K-pop fans should really start decentering ourselves when it comes to these situations and our imagined connection to these idols. So that means recognizing that we truly do not know who these people are. And I've seen a lot of conversation about, like, yes, obviously a lot of these idols are men and, you know, men, but this could be any idol regardless of gender, and I think that's important to note. Maybe like 3 years ago, if something like this would have happened, it would have been so normal to see overwhelming love and support for an idol despite the severity of the allegations. And to be fair, this still doesn't happen, happen when it comes to certain topics. Racism, cultural appropriation, but we're not talking about that right now. That's a different video. But seriously, there has been a drastic shift in the approach from K-pop fans, and a lot of fans are immediately taking the allegations very seriously and condemning TAEIL. But even though we've come very far, we aren't perfect. No one is perfect. But I think being critical and calling out some of our actions and behaviors is very important. And I just want to talk about some of the reactions that, although they're not terrible and aren't as bad as overt support for these idols, are still inconsiderate and insensitive and have been rubbing me the wrong way. I just want to start off by saying I don't feel bad for NCT. I do not feel bad for NCTzens, and I don't feel bad for people who were TAEIL biased. I know that sounds harsh, but in situations where there is an actual victim who was directly harmed by an idol or by anyone who's famous, rich, the victims are the ones who are directly affected and will have to deal with the consequences and the ramifications of what their abuser have done to them for the rest of their life. They are who matters. They are who deserves centering. Like, we should be centering them, not ourselves as fans of someone we don't know. So no, again, I do not feel bad for NCT. I do not feel bad for NCTzens, and I don't feel bad for people who were TAEIL biased and have to take their posters and photo cards off their wall. That's the bare minimum, and that comes with the territory of putting your time, money, and energy into a person you don't know. And I'm not judging people who do that. I'm not judging anyone who is a fan and has to have this process of reevaluating this person's place in your life, because I'm a fan of people. I enjoy media. We don't know these people, and when we put them on a pedestal as if they're not just another human being, that's where it becomes very difficult. I understand I have idols that I really appreciate the art that they put out, but finding out something like this, maybe it'll shock me for a couple days, but the victims will have to deal with that for the rest of their lives. At this point, I've seen so many TikToks of fans acting as if they're mourning the loss of this idol, and obviously you do have some imagined connection to an idol or any artist who makes media that you enjoy, and I do understand that, but put yourself in the shoes of the victim who got the courage to stand up for themselves in a world where victims are constantly made out to be liars and not given the justice that they deserve or even centered when it comes to these conversations. Imagine being a victim yourself. Put yourself in their shoes for a second. Imagine doing that, coming forward and telling your story and going on social media, going on TikTok and seeing a random fan, multiple fans, hundreds of fans, act as if they are mourning the relationship with your abuser, someone that they have never met. Yeah, they enjoy a couple songs, they've bought albums, they've contributed to this person's success, but they don't know. But you know them intimately. They have been the cause of so much distress and have drastically changed the course of your life forever. And people are centering their relationships with this person that they don't know over you. I'm sorry, I have to calm down because this is maddening. It's such bizarre behavior and it would drive me insane. It's already frustrating me. So I can't imagine being in their shoes, and my heart goes out to them truly because I don't understand. So with that being said, now that we've done this little exercise of empathy, who cares that you bought that album? Who cares that you have to take the poster off your wall? That is the risk you take, again, with being a fan and investing your time and energy into them. And even if we do this on a micro level, even knowing people in real life, people are people, and people are going to do heinous things, people are going to do great things, but always making sure that you're not putting them on a pedestal and centering your relationship and the way they make you feel above how they've harmed other people. Although there's been a lot of progress that I mentioned, I've kept mentioning, there's been a lot of progress in K-pop over the past decade, but can you imagine? I've seen so many of these videos of people either talking about, oh my gosh, TAEIL was my bias and I have all this merch, or oh my god, this could be my favorite idol. And of all those videos, I would say 20%, maybe, if that, mention the victims and mention support for the victims. And I think a lot of people think that they're doing all that they need to do by just, saying that he's awful, taking away any connections they had to them, which is a great start, but also bare minimum and comes with the territory of investing in a person you don't know, but kind of erasing the victim and the person who was affected by this entirely, and then centering ourselves and our relationships with these idols. And I just think it's very insensitive, and I think it's weird. I think it's bizarre. And specifically when it comes to the people that are I feel so bad for the members. I do understand that to a certain extent because like they didn't choose to be in a group with this man, obviously. They're co-workers if we really think about it, maybe friends, but co-workers really. But I'm thinking like if I had a co-worker and allegations came out against them, I would feel odd about it. I would feel uncomfortable, but I would be able to go about the rest of my life and be like, oh, that was unfortunate. I'm not gonna have to, in the long term, deal with the consequences of the harm that was caused. With all that being said, as a K-pop fan myself, I am very happy to see the progress that we're making when it comes to condemning actions like these from idols, but there's always progress to be made, and I think having conversations like these are so important. So if you agree with me, but especially if you disagree, leave a comment down below and tell me why. I'd love to hear your thoughts, and I think we can all learn from each other. Thanks for watching. Bye.